After this weekend's heinous and disturbing act of political violence in the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, there have been a lot of different responses to the events of Saturday, some tempered and measured, rightly calling for an end to political violence and the rhetoric that has gotten us into this point. But there have also been some other takes, as we'll see in this video, and there have also been a lot of videos resurfacing about the exact type of rhetoric from the right and from the far-right MAGA extremists particularly that have contributed immensely to the current climate we find ourselves in now, including a disturbing speech from Donald Trump himself that has been making the rounds on the internet and almost going re-viral for how troubling it is and for how it directly relates to the events of this weekend. And we're going to break it all down and take a walk down memory lane to show the true trajectory of how we found ourselves in this situation and how, despite what many of the MAGA party want to claim and believe, there is very clear evidence that these events and the climate surrounding them stem much more from the hateful rhetoric of MAGA themselves and the extreme right wing than the left and the Democrats, as many MAGA mouthpieces would have you believe. And before we get to the disturbing video of Trump that has resurfaced, there is some relatively breaking news to address in relation to all of this. That is, J.D. Vance has been selected as Trump's vice presidential nominee. And that is notable because here is his statement from shortly after the incident, as we'll refer to it from here on out. He says, "Today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination." And that is just wildly outlandish and a ridiculous, not even oversimplification of the events that led us here, as we'll see, but frankly, a totally disingenuous representation of the left, the Biden campaign, and of basic history, even of the last 10 years of hateful rhetoric from his own party and current party leader. Mind you, this is a guy who in 2016 said, quote, "I can't stomach Trump. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him." So you can kind of see how his words would ring a little hollow about anything, but especially with relation to Trump and this incident. And especially when you remember this insane video of Donald Trump himself that has been making the rounds from 7 years ago in his battle against Hillary Clinton, where Donald Trump suggested that Second Amendment advocates could potentially stop Hillary Clinton from taking away gun rights if she were elected president. And I think we're all smart enough here to read through the lines of what he's saying and figure out the clear, deeper meaning.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
that is chilling. And it's that type of offhanded, callous, and dangerously dismissive, violent rhetoric that has slowly but steadily normalized the increase in violence that led to us not even batting an eye when we see something like this printed on a MAGA supporter's truck. And folks, that video was from 7 years ago, where he seems like he was almost testing the waters despite inferring someone should assassinate a presidential nominee. But it's gotten so much worse since then. Obviously, January 6th, violent insurrection at the Capitol with the loss of life of Capitol police officers by people who Trump then called heroes and patriots and said he loved them. Also, his calling for a bloodbath if he's not elected. The list goes on, and I could show you examples, but YouTube won't even allow footage of the repercussions of his own rhetoric to be shown because it is so disturbing and graphic. Now, what I can show you instead is yet another example of a seemingly innocent act from Donald Trump's supporters that, when compared with all the events we've been discussing, comes off far less innocent and far more deeply disturbing. And trust me, I want to make a joke so bad about how this guy should never be able to talk about Joe Biden's age again after missing that dummy so embarrassingly. But I can't, because in the current context, that video is way less funny and way more depressing. And like I said, I could try and play you this literal campaign ad from Joe Biden pointing to all the times Donald Trump has called for violence and then the direct consequences of those actions, but it is too graphic for YouTube's community guidelines. I'll link to it below though, because it is the definition of reaping what you sow. And it's this type of steady programming that viewers of Fox News and Trump rally goers and supporters have been continuously force-fed over time that led Hillary Clinton to claim in this clip from last year, rightfully so, that these people needed to be deprogrammed because they've been slopping up the trough of hateful, violent rhetoric from Trump and the rest of the right wing.
Very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
And look, she is 100% right there. And that comes off as disturbingly prophetic given the incident. But she's not the only one calling this out. In fact, you even had another culprit of all of this, the propaganda programming mecca, Fox News of all places, albeit their most liberal host, Jessica Tarlov, pointing this out directly as well. She had a great reaction to the faux outrage from the right when Hillary said that.
But I really need everyone to spare me the faux outrage and the pearl clutching about this. A little collection of things that Donald Trump and high-ranking Republicans call liberals on a daily basis: anarchists, anti-American, deranged, communists, corrupt, compromised, groomers and perverts, thugs and traitors. Now, she was explicit that she was talking about a subsection of the Republican Party the same way that Joe Biden is when he talks about this MAGA extremism. But you tell me, if the leader of the Democratic Party, so that would be Joe Biden, was facing 4 indictments with 91 felony counts, he had been found liable of sexually assaulting a woman and defaming her, that's E. Jean Carroll, guilty of fraud, sharing the nation's secrets, not only in the Mar-a-Lago indictment, but there was a report yesterday from ABC News that he had shared information about our nuclear submarine capacities with an Australian billionaire who's a member at Mar-a-Lago, who had then gone on and shared that with dozens of other people. Ended up making a purchase, I think, of 3 subs. It included specifics up to how many nuclear warheads they carry and how close they can get to Russian subs without being detected. And then I told you, so all of that is happening, and he's shooting up in the polls. And when you see those interviews of Trump supporters outside of the rallies, they're like, none of this is true. It's the big lie. He won the election, et cetera. And you wouldn't say to me, you guys are in a cult? It's actually tame what Hillary Clinton was saying.
Yeah, comparatively, it's incredibly tame what Hillary Clinton was saying about the MAGA cultists. The people who are literally posting disturbing videos like these on social media after the incident.
Every single liberal content creator, influencer, and Hollywood star that incited violence for this exact thing to happen, it's not only about Donald Trump. Anybody could have gotten hurt. And y'all are against all that stuff, and this is what you incited.
Yeah.
Democrats, after this assassination attempt on Trump, don't you say a fucking word about my president again, or you're going to get an earful next time I see you.
Oh, and also, I never want to hear a word about January 6th ever again.
So we ain't going to mince words in this video. You Democrats have blood on your hands now. You have blood on your hands. You are the politically violent people. You have.
There you have it. It's our fault.
She is a crazed lunatic. What the hell was going on with her husband? Let's not ask. Let's not ask. I'll withdraw that statement.
But enough about that. Focus on the left-wing lunatic Democrat that perpetrated this. Oh, he was a Republican. He was a Republican Nick Fuentes 2A supporter. That's, tough. This is gonna hurt the narrative, that's for sure.
And why would they be saying those things? Because the cult leader and now living martyr for these zealots has programmed them all to respond to everything with hate, dismissal of the other side, demonization, to the point where they hear the things he says and think it's okay to act on disgusting and violent impulses, even when they are being rage baited by fake and fraudulent information. And like I said, I can't show you that ad from earlier, but what I can show you is yet another video that is resurfacing like a social media volcano and exploding back onto people's feeds of Trump's response to the assassination attempt on Nancy Pelosi that ended up being carried out against her husband, Paul.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
Laughing, dismissing, and joking about it. But he doesn't just laugh about it, folks. Trump encourages it. He encourages the exact type of behavior that led to this incident. And despite what you may hear from the right about the type of rhetoric that led to this, just remember that when you point the finger, there's three pointing right back at you. Thanks for watching, folks. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.